What a headshot! What a head!
How's it guys, this is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'll be taking you guys through the best value defenders in FPL at the current moment. So we've gone over the underpriced options, we've gone over the overpriced options, which defenders and which positions offer you the best value for money in the game. But don't worry, it's exactly what we're going to be answering in this specific video, as well as the videos coming up throughout the midweek, so make sure those notifications are turned on. Now we are entering into our third week before FPL does actually return. Game week 1 obviously happening on the Friday, so please pay attention for that. But don't worry, you got a ton of time left to make those drafts. So to help you make those drafts, I decided to go over the third installment or the third series this preseason, and that's the best value options. So that's something you guys are interested in? Sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So going on to our actually created this video, a very quick recap. In terms of the player data used, yet again, it was the points and the prices, the points of last season, the prices of this season. However, I've put a new formula in. It's going to be points divided by prices, and that's going to equal value. So basically another word for this is going to be how many points per million of these options can you expect to get, and which players have the best value for money. So just a reminder there, points divided by price, or basically points per million. Then I didn't include every single defender in the game because there's some niche scenarios. I wanted to include players that have featured a lot, or at least got some attacking returns, and not simply the ones with low amount of minutes but a lot of points. So for example, there might have been options, I've seen this in the past, where defenders kind of played one game, got a clean sheet and an attacking return, and that therefore their points per minute are simply outstanding, and that's going to influence the results and the value as well. So the filter I use is any defender with more than 60 points. How I arrived at that metric was kind of if they played 30 games, 2 appearance points at a minimum, which is quite easy to get. That's going to result in 60 points, or even if they started in January, 1 or 2 attacking returns, 1 or 2 clean sheets would have taken them over that 60 point mark as well. So yes, there might be some options here. Maybe your favorite option played less than 60 points last season. Unfortunately, they won't be covered in this video, but if you comment down below, I can give you the stats on them. If you have any other questions as well, you can drop them in the comments down below. Happy to answer them, or on my Discord server where I might be slightly more active. So let's go on to the actual plot, and the first plot that we're going to go over is going to be pure kind of value. This is points from last season divided by prices of this season. As mentioned, points per million. So I'm going to start off on the top right hand side because that's generally where everyone's kind of eyes gravitate to. The top is the better players, and you're going to see Kieran Trippier offered the best value for money. Now he's quite an interesting one because I've seen him in literally no one's drafts over on FPL Twitter. You guys might have had him in your draft, and if you do, comment it down below. Now my current kind of Trippier plan is to not include him at the start of the season. Newcastle has some tougher fixtures, wasn't exactly the best kind of defender towards the end of the season last season. But once those Newcastle fixtures get a lot better, he's going to be straight back into the team. If you guys want to kind of make a play for him, an easy play is just to include Trent Alexander-Arnold from the start, and he's an easy downgrade to Trippier. Now Newcastle also kind of continue into that top 10 of the value. We've got Dan Burn, we've got Botman here, even Fabian Schär, all make up relatively high positions. So what's that telling you? It's that Newcastle offer great value for money based on the prices this season if they can replicate the form of last season, but that's going to be quite tough to do, as in my opinion, they're an absolutely stellar Premier League season. But if they do manage to replicate it, you got to own these Newcastle assets. If you don't want Trippier, my second favourite is going to be Fabian Schär, as he offers that attacking threat. But in terms of a 4.5 option, Botman's going to be high up there, as well as Tyrone Mings, who's actually a better value for money than him. So that's the first insight of the kind of value metric, is that if Newcastle can perform defensively well this season, they're going to be absolute gems. Coming up next though, we have some few Arsenal options. We've got Gabriel and also White. Now Ben White, as you guys know, is priced more expensive than Gabriel, which kind of explains his reduced value. Now there's been quite a big debate about which Arsenal kind of defender to go for. I'm personally on Gabriel at the moment. Are you guys on Ramsdale even, or Ben White? Or are you going for a cheeky punt on someone like Zinchenko? I'm kind of monitoring preseason as it goes on. I want to see where Timber kind of slots in. Seems like he might be played in an inverted midfielder role. So let's hope that back four gets more clarity as preseason goes on. Also included there is going to be Ben Mee, a player that I haven't seen in many people's drafts. I've seen a lot of the kind of other Brentford defenders. But is Ben Mee better value for money and a more expensive price tag? We're talking about kind of those Brentford defenders. Just cast your eyes to kind of the middle of the graph there. Henry and Pinnock surprisingly priced exactly the same value. And Henry actually got a few attacking returns in the previous preseason game. So both those two assets could be quite good value for money, but in terms of the 4.5s, Botman and Mings are currently leading. Just above Henry and Pinnock is a super popular or highly owned defender. It's going to be a Stupinan, and I can't really complain. I think that he's one of the best defenders to own, especially at the start of the season. Brighton have great fixtures, might not be the most defensively assured side, but at least you can rely on some attacking returns as well. So I generally think that you guys can probably pick your defenders based on the top value options. Got Gabriel, got Estupinan. Your 4.5 is probably Botman or Henry. And if you're going for Trent, that might be a placeholder for someone like a Trippier. Now there are a few other options to cast your eyes on. We've got Luke Shaw kind of in the middle of the bracket as well. He's a fine option to own, but Onana might be a more intriguing option at the cheaper price point. Then at the bottom of the radar, we've got Trent Alexander-Arnold. His value per million is probably going to take a hit from his increased price tag, as 8.0 million is quite expensive. Now the only other option to take note of from a Man City point of view in this kind of value metric is going to be Nathan Ake. Yes, he comes in at kind of the bottom of your radar, but just remember, this is kind of a filtered view. I've taken 17.5 value options onwards, just because you aren't really focused on those cheaper value options. So Nathan Ake, surprisingly, if you guys want to go for maybe a more assured Man City defender, he could be one to look at, but the Man City defense is always quite hard to predict. So you guys can pause the screen right now if you want to go over this graph in a little bit more in depth, but I'm going to go to the next graph, which might be quite interesting as well. So what I've now done, and what you guys are going to see on screen, is I've taken the value per 90 minutes. This is almost kind of a per minute ratio, but I prefer going for kind of per games played. This won't be exactly per games played, this will be kind of their minutes divided by 90, so they might have been subbed off or subbed on. But the value per 90 is going to tell us which players, they might not have started every game, but when they did play, they got points, and that's exactly what we want to look at. So what you guys can do is kind of balance the last graph with this graph, because what you want to see is you want to see a player that has played the majority of minutes, but when they have played, they've got you FPL points. Now a perfect example is going to be kind of the top two here. For example, Alex Moreno didn't start the Premier League season, but once he did come into that Villa side, he was getting you FPL points. So when he does have a full season under his belt, if he's going to be nailed, he could be absolute gold. Same thing we said about Emerson Royale, wasn't the most kind of consistent starter in that Spurs lineup, but when he did play, his value was off the charts. So these two options, you guys can focus on them if you want to go for a punt. I like them as punts. If you want to say, listen, I want to go for a player that has proven Prem quality over maybe a new signing or a promoted side, maybe Emerson Royale and Alex Moreno could be those players. Another interesting one is going to be Wan-Bissaka, but he's got his kind of colleague Delot. He's almost competitor for that right back slot. So both these two options, when they did feature, they got you FPL points. Now if Wan-Bissaka can maybe nail down that spot in that back four, he could be a selection, but I probably wouldn't go there and rather go for Luke Shaw or Onana. Same thing we said about Gomez. When he does play, obviously Liverpool might be good, but I can't really see him in that back four at the time being. Malacia competition for maybe a Luke Shaw, but I probably wouldn't go there. But Nathan Ake I might actually look at. The reason for that is he does come in cheaper than his kind of 5.5 colleagues, John Stones, Ruben Diaz, that sort of thing. And in my opinion, Pep Guardiola really does like playing him. So if he can lock down a spot on that left-hand side of the Man City defense, absolute gold in my opinion, especially with that opening fixture run. Another Man City option to feature is going to be João Cancelo, but I don't want to talk about him too much because I don't even know if he's going to be in that Man City lineup at the start of the season. Estupinan, nice to see that he's got a kind of value per 90 minutes that's pretty respectable, and this kind of explains why he's so well owned. Now there are some Arsenal options I want to touch on, as Saliba and also Zinchenko. These two options, haven't really seen them in many people's drafts, but they've got a better value per 90 minutes than someone like a Gabriel. So if you guys want to take a punt, go for a Saliba or Zinchenko. Maybe these two options, if they do play most minutes, can be better options. Then going to the bottom of this graph, there's someone like a Ben Shaw who's kind of risen in popularity. Great option to have if you guys do want to go for him, just as long as he's going to play most minutes. John Stones as well, a player that was in my latest draft, so just hoping that he actually features. Now the value per 90 minutes is a nice little alternative to something like a points per 90 minutes, as it gives you some more insight into your team structure. Now I'll be going over the defenders in a massive review next week. So 2 weeks before the Game Week 1 deadline commences, I'll be going over which defenders to pick. It's going to be a massive stats deep dive, but I'll be going over my selections at each price point. So this video might be a little bit of a taster for that, but let me know in the comments down below, after the conclusion of my underpriced, overpriced, and best value defenders, what's your back 3 or back 4 looking like? Always like to see what your guys' thoughts are. If you don't like the stats, and you're going purely on the eye test, do your defenders differ to mine much? But this is basically a wrap for the video, guys. Hope you did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like if you did and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Tons of content coming up, the best value options. We've got the forwards coming tomorrow, then the midfielders, and finally the goalkeepers. So make sure those notifications are turned on so you don't miss a video. Otherwise, catch me over on Twitter or on my Discord server. But I'm going to sign off. This has been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers, bye.